Alright guys, in this one we are going to do a bit of a fish room update, but we're going to do a bit of a fish room update with a difference. We're going to talk about how I run the fish room, how I filtrate it, how I heat it, and we're also going to look at a couple of changes that I've made in the fish room where the fish are concerned. It's a question that comes up massively on my account about my sponge filters and my heating, so let's get right into it. We are in the fish room and it's the last day of my holidays for the Christmas and New Year period. I have just had 2 weeks and 2 days off. So I'm going back to work tomorrow. Wow. And it's the only time I have 2 weeks off in the year. I only usually take a week. Christmas time I take 2 weeks. So it's been fantastic. We've done loads. I've spent loads, I've eaten loads, so yeah, it's been a great time, and we've done a lot of stuff in this fish room. I have upgraded my area for my plants because they are just growing massively, and we have also, obviously, we've done the change in the bottom tank, which is hiding behind everything, and I'll show you the true parrot because we moved that in with the Waroos in a minute, and I'm also obviously going to show you how I run my fish room as well, because we've never ever done an update on that since I changed that nearly 3 years ago, believe it or not. Yeah, the true parrot. So check the true parrot out. Do you remember when I said he had lateral line erosion? Look at him now, he's absolutely fantastic. We have got this under control. I got some unbelievable advice off an unbelievable fish keeper, and I'm always indebted to this guy because his advice is always on point. Honestly, it's on point, and as you can see, whatever advice he gave me has worked because you can't see anything, and believe me, it was pretty bad. The other thing that's happened while I've been off is these Waroo have had a spawn on that rock there. Literally, eggs were gone 2 days later. So it's the same old story with them. But the true parrot is happy in here and looking the best he's ever looked. I'm so happy with that. And you know who you are if you're watching. Thank you so much. I'll always appreciate that. So yeah, that's what changes we've made in this tank. The other fish I will show you in another video, which I moved into the house. That was the Braziliensis and the Aquadens. And obviously we moved the other fish on. How do I run my fish room? Basically, it's really simple. I heat my room on this heater and I filter my tanks on this pump. And that is how simple it is. So this heater basically has two dials, one to control the maximum and the minimum of the heat, and then that one controls the heat as it's live, if that makes sense. Really easy to use, very much a trial and error thing for me at the beginning, but I found the right temperature. Now what you'll find is at the moment it is, let's wait for it to change, it's 75 degrees, which is quite low, right? So the reason for that is because we've got a cold snap. Like I said, it's -3 or something at the moment, but I can just turn it up a little bit, so I'll give it a little nudge and that will take it up a degree or two, but it's nothing to worry about because the temperature in the tanks will stay the same. It's like if you make a cup of coffee, isn't it? You know, you boil it up, you put it in the cup and it cools down over a period of time. So, you know, I've just never had a problem with fluctuation of heat in the tanks, and it's very rare that the temperature on this drops to 75, so it just needs me to turn it up. And I do throughout sort of like the year, the weeks, the months or whatever, I do spend time turning that dial up and down based on what the temperature is outside. Absolutely, first point on the heating, massively advise anyone to heat a room if you've got a fish room. It saves me a fortune. Now I can't break down amount of cost that saved me because obviously we run a house. So, but all I know is my electric bills in the winter are a lot less than they used to be before I started heating the room, and the same with this before I started the filter in the room on one pump. So I did save money, so that's all I can tell you. You will definitely save money. Now this is my pump, and I run all my sponge filters on this. This is a Blagden Pond Oxygenator 3600, and I run it off this extension. That basically runs this fish room, and it's always run this fish room. And that runs up there, across there, and down into the tanks in that one and the one down below. The ones on this side run round the back there. So yeah, so it's as tidy as I can get it. I did consider doing the air ring, but just never got around to it, guys. And this is enough, it works, it's fine. And it just runs to all the sponge filters. Yes, I do have a couple of externals in the tanks, but I put them in for my benefit. I don't need them. And what I will say is, guys, this is probably one of the biggest debates on my channel around sponge filters. They're not good enough, they're not as good as internals, they're not as good as externals, blah blah blah, they're not good as sumps. Now Warrington, I've never used a sump, right? But I've used externals, internals, I've even used undergravels, that's how old I am. And believe me, these sponge filters do as good a job in my tanks as any of those things. And they're as much easier to clean, they're as much easier to look after, they cost less on the electricity because obviously I'm running it off one pump. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it's the best thing that I ever did, going to one pump and one heater in this fish room. Now, the tanks in the house, so one of the tanks in the house has got an external. So I run that off an external because it's at no point in me running a pump because it's one tank, if that makes sense. So, but if you're running a fish room, my advice is do sponge filters. You can look, this tank, as last time I had a water changed a week ago. How clean that sand is. Yeah, there's geos in there, but look how clean the tank is. Look, the sponge filters get cleaned out every probably 2 to 3 weeks. And actually some people who have fishing will tell you that's probably too much. You don't need to. But the reason I do it is back to the lateral line erosion. I just want to keep my sponge filters clean and obviously my substrate clean. That's just something that I've changed in my routine, if that makes sense. Again, clean sand. All my tanks are the same. All my tanks are the same. So I highly recommend the sponge filters. Like I said, I've put the internal filter there just because of me. And then, so that's one pump and one heater runs this whole room. Now at the moment there's only 7 tanks, obviously. But I have run up to probably around 18 to 20 tanks in this room over a period of time, because obviously we had tanks in that corner there, we had tanks in that corner there, we have tanks on the bottom of there, and we had tanks on the bottom of there. So yeah, I highly advise it. But yeah, honestly, you know, it's economic. From a cost point of view, it's well worth doing. Internal filters work, external filters work, sumps work. They all work, it's just what suits you, and this suits me at this point in time. So yeah, I highly advise anyone with a fish room to run your tanks on one air pump with sponge filters, and lots of people with fish rooms will tell you the same. Is there anything else I need to tell you about running this fish room? It's as simple as that, guys, honestly, it's as simple as that. I highly advise it. And we'll finish with that stunning true parrot who is in absolutely immense nick again, and that makes me so happy. But yeah, we'll wrap this one up now, guys. So there you have it, that's how I run my fish room. And I know that there's many other fish keepers that run their fish rooms the same. It's economical, it's easy to run, it's easy to maintain. It just makes sense. And when I first changed to it, I remember talking to Bill at Bill Cichlid Room and even Andy Woods. I spoke to loads of them and I was very dubious about making the change. But it's the best thing that I ever did. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's the best thing I ever did from a time consuming of maintenance, as a cost, and the tanks are as spotless now as they were when I was using internals, externals, so, and under gravels, because that's how old I am. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I want to say a massive thank you, as always, and I will see you all on the next one.